Imagine waking up in a massive hidden underground complex with no memory of how you got there, surrounded by scientists who claim they're going to cure you. Well, welcome to the Sinyala Facility, the setting of the psychological sci-fi game The Outlast Trials. If you've never heard of this game before, don't worry. You don't need to know a single thing about it to appreciate the sheer scale of corporate mystery we are diving into today. Set during the height of the Cold War, the story revolves around the Murkoff Corporation. This private entity has built a colossal secret laboratory beneath the Arizona desert. They aren't building weapons or rockets, they're experimenting on human behavior. They take people who have slipped through the cracks of society, the forgotten, the displaced, and put them through a series of elaborate high-stress simulations called trials. Today, we are going to break down exactly how this corporate machine operates, the roles of the specialized personnel used to test these subjects, and why Murkoff is spending millions of dollars to alter human psychology. To understand what Murkoff is doing, you first have to understand the environment they built. The Sinyala Facility is essentially a massive underground grid of hollowed-out warehouses. Inside these warehouses, Murkoff has constructed full-scale artificial theatrical sets mimicking everyday locations. There is a mock police station, an orphanage, an amusement park, and a harbor, and many more. The test subjects inside this facility are called reagents. When a reagent enters a trial, they are forced to navigate these familiar environments while solving complex puzzles under pressure. Why do familiar places like schools or police stations? It comes down to behavioral concepts known as environmental fracturing. Our brains associate certain buildings with safety, order, and authority. By taking those exact structures and turning them into unpredictable mazes, Murkoff systematically breaks down a subject's reliance on external social structures. Once a person can no longer trust their environment, their mind becomes much more receptive to new conditioning. To ensure the test subjects remain in a constant state of heightened awareness, Murkoff employs highly specialized behavioral enforcers known as prime assets. These are individuals who have been heavily conditioned by Murkoff to play specific roles within these simulations, serving as psychological anchors for the test subjects. First, let's take a look at Sergeant Leland Coyle. Coyle is styled as a corrupt authoritarian law enforcement officer. He represents the dark distortion of legal authority and state power. His purpose in the trial is to break down any lingering belief the subjects have that the law or the state will protect them. By turning a figure of authority into a persistent threat, Murkoff forces the subjects to abandon the concept of societal protection. Next is Mother Gooseberry. She is styled as a distorted children's show host, complete with a puppet and a bizarre maternal persona. Gooseberry represents the perversion of family, caretaking, and maternal safety. Because many of the test subjects come from backgrounds of neglect, confronting a terrifying caricature of a maternal figure targets their deepest psychological vulnerabilities. It teaches the subjects that traditional concepts of family and nurture cannot save them. Next, we have Franco Bambino, or Barbie. Franco represents the corruption of youth and systemic institutional failure. He behaves like an erratic, unpredictable enforcer who uses range tools to keep his subjects constantly guessing. His pressure ensures that there is no safe distance or no predictable pattern within the simulation, forcing absolute tactical compliance from the subjects. His trials are also insanely annoying. As for the Crest twins as well as Sister Lilia, I'm still new to the Outlast trials, and I know the Crest twins represent an older grandparents archetype within this family dynamic that the prime assets have going for them, and I also know that Sister Lilia is the sister of the family, or the daughter, I guess. Since I'm still new, I don't have many of the lore documents, and I don't have that great of an understanding of them, so I'm not going to speak much, but when I do have a greater understanding, I would love to discuss their lore more in depth, but we should move on. Another very important part of the Outlast trials that you should know about is the X-Pop and what they are. So beyond the prime assets, the facility is populated by the X-Pop, short for experimental population. These individuals are past participants of the program whose minds could not handle the stress of the conditioning, causing them to fracture into hyper-fixated repetitive behaviors. Usually these repetitive behaviors are murder and violence, and that's due to your good old pal Murkoff. Instead of removing them, Murkoff utilizes the X-Pop as living variables within the simulation. Each type of X-Pop serves a specific mechanical and psychological purpose. The Grunts. These are standard wandering individuals who patrol specific zones. They force subjects to constantly map out safe routes and practice basic situational awareness. The Big Grunts. Larger individuals who block key pathways, forcing subjects to find alternative routes or use teamwork to bypass them. The Screamers. Stationary individuals who react violently to loud noises. Their purpose is to enforce absolute silence and careful movement, punishing subjects who panic or rush through the objectives. The Pouncers. Individuals who hide in hiding spots like lockers, trash bins, or etc., jumping out to surprise passing subjects. They are used to prevent subjects from ever feeling safe, even when the area appears completely empty. By filling the trials with these varied, unpredictable behaviors, Murkoff ensures that a subject's brain can never relax or enter a predictable routine. So, what's the point of forcing subjects to run through these mazes while avoiding the prime assets in the X-Pop? It's all about data collection and cognitive conditioning. While the subjects are busy fixing generators, tuning radio frequencies, or transporting cargo, Murkoff scientists are watching through double-sided mirrors and security cameras. They monitor stress responses, problem-solving, efficiency under pressure, and how well subjects cooperate when resources are limited. The goal is to train the human brain to override panic by repeatedly forcing a subject to complete complex technical tasks while facing environmental hazards. Murkoff is teaching the subconscious mind to execute orders flawlessly under any condition. The tools provided to the subjects, like radar scanners, healing vapors, or temporary blinding devices, are proprietary corporate equipment used to test how efficiently humans integrate with Murkoff technology during high-stake operations. When a subject successfully passes enough of these rigorous tests, they reach what Murkoff calls Rebirth. But this isn't freedom, it means the conditioning was successful. The subject's original identity has been entirely suppressed, replaced by a synthetic secondary persona, a sleeper agent. These individuals are given clean clothes, falsified background documents, and are released back into regular society. They live completely normal lives, entirely unaware of the Sinyala Facility beneath the desert. However, a specific trigger, such as a corporate code word or a distinct radio frequency, can instantly activate their conditioning, causing them to execute precise corporate or espionage directives with no memory of their actions afterwards. Ultimately, the Sinyala Facility is an automated factory designed to turn human behavior into a highly predictable, controllable resource. So, how could you, as a reagent, ever hope to escape the likes of the Sinyala Facility? Well, it seems next to impossible, right? Murkoff has it down. He has his lessons planned, the time it's executed, and well, if you don't go along with the plan, you just might get ended up throwing into a garbage compactor, like our poor friend Oscar. So, now we know Murkoff's end goal for us as reagents, but what does the end for us reagents look like? And I'm not talking about death, even though that is a very likely reality. What would our lives look like outside of the Murkoff Corporation, or the Sinyala Facility. Now, I know I've already talked about this, and that reagents are just effectively converted into sleeper agents, but a life outside of the Murkoff facility honestly wouldn't be that bad. It's one of the better ways to go out within the Outlast franchise, being a reagent, I mean. But what would it look like if you tried to escape the Sinyala facility? Now, obviously, as a player, the only way to truly escape is to go through the Rebirth and quote-unquote escape, and then have a new person come in, and it's this whole process so that you can keep your account going. But how would you escape the Sinyala facility? Well, the short answer is that you really can. Now, as far as escape goes, you're pretty screwed. There's no obvious exits beside the Rebirth tunnel, of course, and Murkoff has security scattered around the trials everywhere. In the trials, in the sleep room, any place you can think of. But what if you didn't escape the trials? What if you just stopped them? Now, this is an idea I've thought a lot about. With all the bricks, bottles, and glass, like, all over the trials, why wouldn't the reagents be able to take down the prime assets, steal weapons, take down individual X-Pop, and throw over the trial? Well, there's many possibilities to this, of course, and the most likely one is that even if you're able to take down one X-Pop or a prime asset, I'm sure Murkoff has a security measure, or the guards or somebody would rush in and put an end to it. But there's another theory I want to talk about that says that maybe reagents don't even have a drive to do this. Now, I recently saw a video by a content creator named Happy Heart. They make great videos, you should go check them out. I saw a video, I believe it was titled Slow Burn Hell. It's basically about what life as a reagent would be like in the sleep room. It's a really interesting video, I think you should go check it out. But they talk about a concept in that video that really stuck to me, and it's that somehow or another, the reagents take something, whether it's a pill or through their food, that limits the amount of testosterone or the amount of overall drive or anger or feeling that they have within the trials. And as it's also mentioned in their video, the sleep room is quite exhausting in and of itself. It's kind of a big nothing burger. I mean, imagine sitting in the same room for how many days doing nothing, in a place where your doors don't lock and there's a massive 70-inch window that anyone can see into your room. And now this always troubled me because I thought it was such a weird thing to have these rooms so exposed when reagents would often become so violent in the trials. Obviously, the more violent reagents are turned into X-Pop, as I've already somewhat discussed. But I really like the theory that the reason reagents don't fight back is because they're actually being drugged. And I don't believe this is said anywhere in the lore. Again, I'm very new to the game, and I don't have all of the documents, but I'm slowly making my way there. But I really like this theory because it supports the fact that Murkoff has a plan for everything. Everything. Okay, I apologize. That was a rant and sort of unrelated to the topic, but I find it very intriguing. And building kind of upon that rant, it really makes me think, what are the end goals for everyone? I mean, we've talked about Murkoff's end goal for us as a reagent, but what is his end goal with the Sinyala facility as a total? Is it a proof of, oh yes, I can do this? Or is it more of a, hey, we really need sleeper agents, here's the plan? So I really wonder if this is more of a ongoing project or a precaution. And I'm going off script here because actually this is my first scripted video ever. Usually I usually I just have like live commentary on my videos, so I'm kind of spicing things up a little bit with this one. This is also my first ever Outlast Trials video. But so if I'm rambling and going off topic, that's why, because the script I wrote was not that long. And getting back to the topic, I really wonder what Murkoff's end goal is, and if we will ever see that in the Outlast Trials or in the Outlast franchise. Now, I'm not quite sure what the timeline for the Outlast games are, but if I'm not mistaken, the Outlast Trials is a sequel or the third in the entire franchise. Now, I'm far more unfamiliar with Outlast 1 and 2 than I am what I believe is Outlast 3, the Outlast Trials. I've only recently become a fan of these games, but I really enjoy them and I think you should check them out. That's beside the point. But moving on from I wonder what Murkoff's final goal will be, I wonder what the lives of X-Pop and Prime Assets look like. Now, as far as I could tell, the Sinyala Facility clearly has not been running for a very long time, simply just by looking at the dates between when Prime Assets are acquired and between big events for the Sinyala Facility as a whole. Now, I wonder what happens to Prime Assets as they age out or die of fatality. I've only ever heard of one Prime Asset leaving, and their name is Prescott Whitehorn. Sorry if that was a bad cut. I completely forgot their name and just had to go and Google it. And as far as I know, they're the only Prime Asset that has ever left the Sinyala Facility, and it was for reasons I don't think I'm allowed to discuss on YouTube. But I don't know. I wonder what life for the Prime Assets is like outside of... Well, I don't even know. Do they get to leave the Sinyala Facility? I would imagine not. I would imagine unless they're completely brainwashed, they're probably never allowed to leave. I mean, the things that they've seen and committed there would be... It would be plenty to send Murkoff and the entire company under, to say the least. Not that I think any of them would rat to police officers, maybe with the exception of Coyle, but I wonder if they can age out, or what injury suffices a Prime Asset being replaced versus stitched back up and thrown out in the field. There's a line that Jaeger says that I hope I will be able to find and put here in editing. Just to correct my past self, it was not Jaeger who said this, it is a generic female X-Pop. I could not find the exact voice line, but this is the quote of the exact voice line. So, have you learned yet? You better, or they'll just keep stitching you up and sending you back. As far as my research has found, it does not appear as though there is any voice line or lore regarding what kind of injuries or damage the Prime Assets have received. However, it is clear to me that not only do X-Pop experience damage and disaster all the time, but X-Pop are far more plentiful and far easier to replace than a Prime Asset. So it makes a lot of sense to me how we get trials like Poison the Cattle, where, and as far as I can remember, this is the only trial where we actually kill any X-Pop, but it makes a lot of sense to me that this trial happens since they're far more replaceable. I thought that it was always a very strange trial. I thought, like, I don't know. It seemed like Murkoff was willing to volunteer an asset he did not have to. However, I've also seen lore documents regarding the X-Pop is a very expensive program to maintain, especially regarding all of the gear many X-Pop like the Night Hunter and other X-Pop have. I mean, they're constantly covered in gear and shackles, so it makes sense to me that it's probably far cheaper to remove those shackles and put them on a better, more healthier X-Pop than it is to not only get more shackles and build more equipment for these X-Pop, but you also, if you do that, you also have to keep up and maintain the other injured X-Pop. Because as, you know, as a player, you know, you injure X-Pop quite frequently. Now I know I have been yapping for a long time. This video is very disorganized in the second half, and you have my deepest apologies for that. I'm not used to doing scripted videos, and this will be a note to self for future videos. But so far, I think the video turned out pretty great. If you've made it this far, comment Murkoff, because why not? And leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. But I just want to talk about one final thing since the video is sort of, you know, closing up. I know I have already said what Murkoff's final goal is. It's to achieve a well-oiled machine that is constantly producing sleeper agents. But I want you, as a viewer, to think, what is the higher purpose of the Outlast trials and the Outlast series as a whole? Will it dictate a war? Will it cause us to win a war? I mean, we know from the newspapers that after you escape and become a sleeper agent, you are able to commit assassinations and all kinds of government things from behind the scenes. Espionage, that's the word I was looking for. But what does the government do with us as reagents? Anyways, that was the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you liked the Outlast content, because if not, I will go back to playing the Mimic on Roblox, but I don't really think anyone cares about that. Anyway, actually, the Rage trial literally came out as I'm recording this, and I almost stopped recording this to go play it, but I figured this took priority. I really enjoy the Outlast trials. If you thought this video was interesting, I would definitely suggest giving it a try. So yeah, let me know any feedback you have on the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Noob Unite Gaming, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.